The Nakba, Memory, Reality, and Beyond. I participated in the 7th International Sabeel Conference in Nazareth in Jerusalem, November 12th to 19th. Sabeel is an ecumenical center in Jerusalem for Palestinian liberation theology. Sabeel is an Arabic word that means the way. It also means spring. The beginning of the summary statement of the conference is a good place to begin. Quote, "We are more than 200 Christians from 5 continents who have come together to commemorate the tragic events that occurred 60 years ago in the lives of the people of Palestine. We recognize the irony in the coincidence that this year also marks the 60th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Nakba, as many of you know, is the Arabic word for catastrophe, the establishment of the State of Israel in Palestine. We broke into groups for the various excursions, and each group visited 4 Palestinian villages among the 531 that were depopulated and destroyed in 1948-49. I want to read to you about one of them, Al-Gabasiyah. Al-Gabasiyah is located about 11.5 kilometers from Acre, south of the highway that connected Tarshiya and Acre. The site of the village is within the territory allotted to the Arab state under the 1947 partition plan. The entire population of the village before 1948 was Muslim, consisting of 690 residents in 1945. The Ottomans established a school there in 1886. The village economy was based on livestock and agriculture. Olives were grown and processed in the 2 animal-drawn presses in the village. The area was 11,786 dunams, a quarter of an acre. In the writings, there is a great deal of detail and accuracy. The number of residents, the dunnage, the acreage, it's just very, very careful remembrances of what was there. In March 1948, the village residents established a non-aggression pact with Jewish militia leaders. However, the agreement was not honored, and in May, before the end of the British mandate, Al-Gabasiyah was occupied by Jewish forces as part of Operation Ben Ami. There are numerous operations. You read about each village and it was some other operation, but it was all part of a coordinated plan to cleanse the place. The operation began mid-May with the aim of capturing all the coastal villages from Acre to the Lebanese border. Despite no local resistance, units of the Carmeli Brigade entered the village on May 21st, shooting and killing a resident, Daoud Zaini, who was greeting the units by waving a white flag, indicating the villagers' desire for peace. Families residing near the entrance to the village had prepared coffee for the advancing Jewish militia. Despite these gestures, 10 additional villagers were killed and the remaining residents were expelled. Unlike most internal refugees of 1948, the residents of Al-Gabasiyah were allowed to return to the village less than 12 months after the expulsion. However, on August 2nd, 1951, Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion declared the village site a closed military zone. The villagers were expelled again. Since that time, former residents of the village have fought to return to their homes by direct, nonviolent action and by legal means. On November 30th, 1951, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the villagers, stating that they had a right to return. After the court ruling, the villagers attempted to re-enter the village, but were turned back by Israeli forces, refusing to recognize the ruling. A Jewish lawyer who appealed their case was shot. Between 1955 and 56, all the village homes and buildings were demolished, with the exception of the mosque, which remained standing, although in disrepair. In 1995, former residents of Al-Gabasiyah began their attempts to pray weekly at this mosque. In response, the Israeli Land Authority sealed the doors and windows of the mosque and erected a 2-meter-high barbed wire fence around the structure. Former residents and their descendants continued to worship as close to the mosque as they can get. Many of these families live close to the village site, some within view of their former homes. In 1950, the Jewish settlement Netiv HaSharara, located 1.25 kilometers west of the village, was established for Jewish Iraqi immigrants on the village land. We met a survivor who spoke to us through an interpreter. I didn't get his name, so I'll call him Ibrahim for my comments. Ibrahim had drawn a poster about 4 feet by 3 feet showing each house in the village. He pointed out what had been his house and could name the family that lived in each house. He also drew the trees and the walkways. The poster, which looked like a labor of love to me, was displayed as he spoke. We were outside and he was at a podium with, I think there was a speaker system. When he was 10 years old, they were expelled from the village. And he remembers as a child preferring to stay home and listen to the elders talk rather than go out and play with the children. We also visited El Birwa. There, the survivor was only 4 years old when they were expelled. He was carried on his father's shoulders, and another brother was holding his father's hand when they fled at night. Their cemetery was covered with about 20 meters of dirt. They had wanted to continue to use it. A kibbutz is there now. The speaker lives only about 10 kilometers away. In all the visits, the recurring theme is we want to tell our story. We want you to hear what has happened to us, and we want you to pass on the story. The memory of what has happened cannot be lost.